It's not as if she were a maniac, a raving thing. She just goes a little mad sometimes.
And I say, insect or man, death should always be painless.
She just goes a little mad sometimes. We all go a little mad sometimes.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
I caught him, Sheriff. Wait, who is it? Billy Loomis. Sir?
Pardon me, I'm Loomis, Dr. Sam Loomis.
I think our friend Sam Loomis didn't know that Marion was here.
Oh, Sam, I hate having to be with you in a place like this.
Just listen to me. When you go down the street to the Mackenzie's house, I want you to tell them to call the police.
Your car. Drive down to the Mackenzies.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes. It was fun.
If that intro absolutely slapped, I am going to need you to whack the heck out of that like button. I'm going to need that like button bayoneted in the middle of the jungle.
Can we just talk about that 10-second? That clip on 10 seconds with the guy nodding.
Huh? Oh.
the symmetry, the guy nodding. What was that from?
Oh, I don't know. It's probably just some internet thing. There's a lot in that video. I can't know every single thing in that edited video.
Oh, well,
probably
I'll tell
nothing
you what,
important. Just move on.
That's a lot more vibey than the old intro, I will say.
It's a very specific mood, and I thought since we're covering psychological horror in this brand new arc, which is starting, let me check my watch right now with you guys. I figure let's make it a little special. So I kind of wanted to do that for a while, and this gave me an opportunity to spend a ridiculous amount of time editing. I hope you enjoyed it.
It was excellent.
It was very good.
I love the "we all go a little mad sometimes." Great line. Fantastic stuff.
Oh yes. I got the idea of just trying to trace all these little linkages that say Scream did back through the classics, and obviously like the Loomis thing, and we go a little mad sometimes, and sometimes it's explicit, sometimes it's not. I just figured that could be fun with a nice little trip hop beat on there. But I am not alone in appreciating it. We're of course joined by regular co-host That Crown Guy. How you doing, friend?
Good evening. Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm still recovering. I'm pretty much over all the aches and pains from COVID, but my voice and chest are always the last things to come back. So we'll get there.
I think the voice sounds better.
Oh, well, yeah, well, it's only temporary, I'm afraid.
You've got that Mariella Frostrup quality, you know?
I have no idea who that is, but I'll take it.
Oh, no.
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 Haryan moment.
Oh, no.
Certified Haryan moment.
Oh, you're too young. I mean, Mariella Frostrup was she was a sex bomb.
Well, I'm like a proper gent. I don't take their names.
Oh dear.
You just give them the wrong phone number and an address for the following day, huh?
I'll give them a bad number and a good night.
Yep. Sounds good.
I love it. Trig, my fellow Mariella Frostrup appreciator. Good to have you back on stream.
It's good to be back on stream. I've been kind of out of it a little bit for the last couple of weeks. As I mentioned to you before, we've had a few sad things have happened in my life recently, and it's taken up most of my weekdays sorting out bereavement stuff and funerals and so on. So such a shame, but such is life at the end of the day. So good and bad. Well, I'm back. We've sorted everything out now, I think, just about, touch wood.
We will be touching wood, we will be praying, and wishing you the very best. And thanking you again for coming on for I think, an unblemished record of frankly excellent movies. I'm not even going to be attempting to be impartial on this one. I love this film. And we're going over a little bit of what we said in the pre-show chat, but oh man, the second I offered Jacob's Ladder, you were on it.
Oh, this is such a good film. Such a good film. It's one that I saw in 1990, and it was, yeah, as I said, it was immediately grab friend and go, you have to see this movie. I will sit you down and I will make you watch this movie. Here, I've got DVD of movie, watch. And you know what? It took until it took a couple of watches for it to fully click as to what's actually going off in this movie as well. It's not a lightweight movie by any stretch of the imagination. It's got some weight going off in it.
It's got deep stuff, and I feel there's stuff that slipped in there that you're meant to think isn't the real deal, but actually they didn't put it in by accident. And I have a weird history with this. It's one of those ones that, like Seven, I tried watching, I think, twice and gave up on. And then when I got through it, I was absolutely hooked, and I just can't believe, how did I not absolutely blitz it after the first time? Because this has got better on each showing. I think I'm on about a third watch through at the moment.
Yeah,
oh, blimey.
It's a great movie. It really is. It's who knows? Maybe we all have different insights into it as well. Because I'm certain I haven't completely apprehended every nuance this has got. Because as you said, there is nothing in this film by mistake.
Well, there's maybe one mistake.
Oh,
but it's more of a consistency mistake that I spotted in this film.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's only tiny. It's only tiny, but there was this one bit when we'll get to it. But yeah, something is said at the beginning, something happens later, and I'm like, how did that happen?
Okay. Well, just before we move onwards, TCG, what's your history with this film? Just
none. First time watching it. First time watched it today properly. Finished watching it about 20 minutes ago.
Oh, fantastic!
Oh, wow. Okay.
You can't get a fresher take than this.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. Well, before we cover any of that, though, because we are on YouTube, we'll do the standard thing. I'm going to try and be professional, and you're all going to hopefully pretend that you're convinced by me attempting to be professional. We will do the shilling that we have to do. And I will just mention that the channel is monetized. You can show your appreciation via super chats if you would like. The thing I would cheekily, if I may, beg of you is that I would really like it if you would click the button to join the channel as a member, either here or on Subscribestar. I have something of a corporate target, if you will, for July. I really want to grow the members of this channel, mostly because I am lazy when it comes to financial planning. But the essential stuff. I'm lazy when it comes to financial planning, and people joining as members makes it very easy for me to budget for the things I want to budget for, specifically in the realm of the secret project, which will be discussed at some point. So if you fancy doing that, if you want to get on and join, then you'll get access to the exclusive content. You will get access to all the Easter eggs. The Alabaster, thank you so much, Wheezy. Yes. One of the things I really like doing is doing posts showing the Easter eggs that are slipped into the videos. The last one in the Black Mirror video, I think you would be very hard pressed to find. So I was very happy to show people that. But of course, no pressure. You guys being here, especially if you're here live, absolutely love you guys. I would feel so awkward if you weren't here. So it is much appreciated. But if you do fancy supporting the channel, joining as a member would be amazing. I would love to get 10 members by the end of the month. We're about halfway there. So I would love for that to happen. That is my shilling done. Before we move on, Trig, anything you would like to shill, sir?
No. Okay, yeah. I'm doing. I've been chilling my D&D that I've been doing on a Monday. I've also been just started D&D a new game on Sundays that I'm also streaming with Uzlu and some other friends of mine. It should be kind of fun. Sort of set in 1777 in a very large island over to the west of Ireland proper, and I think you might have heard of it. The USA, I think it's called, or actually prior to it being there. In fact, this is in a slightly different world to the actual world, though, because in my world, France lost the 100 Years' War and is part of the British Empire, and the USA is going to try and separate from the British Empire, but without the help of France. So,
we never lost Calais.
So we're going to see how that works out for everyone, and there's some interesting stuff in there because I've been doing some really kind of weird research into people like Benjamin Franklin and a group called, you have to look into this, the National Association of Electrolyzers, which was a group that he was involved with back in the 1700s, who wanted to give birth to the Mecca Messiah.
I'm pretty sure the only quirky thing I know about Benjamin Franklin is that he used to pork older ladies, like really older ladies.
No, I kid you not. Though he was into combining man and machine and giving and giving birth to a new breed of man and machine kind of thing. I think he was just dabbling in it with a lot of things, but it turns out that organization still exists.
No.
Benjamin Frankenstein.
So yeah, exactly. I've been diving into that. Sort of started a couple of weeks ago with all the things going off as a side project, and I'm now up to my neck in it. It's a weird world. So that's gonna perhaps feature in my D&D. So that's what I've been doing. I've been creating very, very weird things in my imagination.
Oh, fantastic! And I've been enjoying the old playthroughs of Deus Ex on your channel as well. That is some intense nostalgia.
Oh, I need to finish that. Because I got halfway through and I don't know if I ever mentioned it. I have a problem in my hands that sometimes stops me playing from computer games for a bit. And I got halfway through and suddenly stopped because I couldn't play anymore because it hurt. So I need to finish that playthrough.
Gotta get that new Dark Age ending.
Oh yeah.
Fantastic stuff. TCG, any shilling you'd like to do before we get into the meat and potatoes of this week's episode?
So over on my second channel, I picked up the pace with Batman. We're on the second episode of of season 2. That was quite fun. And tomorrow night we're going to be doing some Freaking Florida Man Friday over on the second channel as well from 9 p.m. UK time. Mergu in the chat will be joining us alongside Trig. Unfortunately, Proper Horror Show won't be there as she's having some waifu time. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And Zen is working, so it's just going to be us three. But I'm pretty sure we can have an entertaining and fun stream without these two slackers, shall we say. But there's going to be no memes though, unfortunately, because my meme artists aren't going to be there. So maybe they can watch on the replay and give us something for next week.
I reckon a post hoc meme is definitely doable.
Excellent.
I like it building up. The database of memes is building.
It is getting bigger. In terms of the main stuff, I did try and record a members exclusive reading from the world's 20 worst crimes. But as you can probably tell, my voice is still a little bit funky because I'm getting over COVID. And I sounded way too wheezy for that. So I'm going to give it a few days and to see how my voice goes. The same with the main video as well. I have got a script all done. So once I'm in a bit of a better position too, I'll get that recorded up and we'll get that on the main channel as well. It's a bit of a shorter video, but I think it's quite an interesting story that needs telling. If you want to know a little bit more about it, go to my Monday stream on my second channel because I do briefly talk about it there. But that's me.
All right, fantastic. Okay, ooh, what's now? As I said, we started our psychological horror arc. This was quite brutal to try and choose the films for. We were spoiled for choice here. But I had no doubt over what I was going to do for the introductory topic. We are going to talk about the Rosenhan experiments. Is that ringing any bells for either of you?
None at all.
Oh, it is ringing a bell, but go on.
Okay. No worries. So psychological horror is going to be one of those ones that it's going to be a bit like the old prawn. Hard to define, but you know it when you see it. You know, every horror has the emphasis on being scared, spooky things moving that you're not sure if they're there or not. Psychological horror really just puts the emphasis on you doubting your own sanity. You know.
Oh, I remember this. Yes.
And the Rosenhan experiments get to how tricky an idea sanity and insanity are. Remember that quote from last week's episode on In the Mouth of Madness? Sane and insane could easily switch places if the insane were to become the majority. Well, a chap by the name of
David Rosenhan?
David Rosenhan. I was like, oh, what's his first name? Gosh darn it. David Rosenhan. Put that to the test to an extent. The idea of how good are we at actually knowing if someone is sane or insane? We've obviously had a lot of cases where things have gone in and out of the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, that contains the list of acknowledged psychological conditions. Things that have been in and then were taken out include homosexuality, and things, well, I suppose there's another one that I'm particularly interested in covering, which is something I'm really struggling to bring up on screen as quick as I can and smoothly as I can. Where is it, though, guys? Where is it? This one. Drapetomania.
What?
Drapetomania. It's this horrible condition, TCG. Can you believe it? It was widespread. It was this horrible sickness that was affecting African American slaves. They were so messed up in the head with drapetomania, they wanted to leave the plantations. Can you believe it?
Oh my god, I literally can. Yeah, official view was slave life was. Nobody clipped what I'm about to say. Slave life was so pleasant that only the mentally ill would want to run away. In actuality, the desire for freedom is a natural. It's a natural human impulse. Am I right in saying that in Germany, if you're imprisoned and you try and escape, they don't add the attempt of escaping prison to your charge because of the natural human impulse to desire freedom? I've read that somewhere.
I would love that to be true.
I'm pretty sure that's true. Like if you try and escape prison from Germany, you don't. That's not. It's an offence, but you don't get anything added to your sentence because of the fact that it's an innate human. It's innately human to want to be free.
You know, yes and no. This reminds me. Did you ever watch the TV series, the HBO TV series Rome? And there's a great line in that, or a couple of lines in that, where because it's set in the days of Julius Caesar and Pompey, etc. And Pompey's looking out after having his army decimated, and he's looking at some of his slaves cleaning things up, and he just laments to himself, "Oh, what a simple life it must be to be a slave, to not have all of these weights and decisions put upon you, to be looked after at every turn, and to know your place in the world," essentially. And
that's mental.
You know, I kind of get it. I'm not saying I want to be enslaved, but I do know what he's getting at there is that certainly in some aspects, the idea of certain slaves, if they're well looked after and they know their place and are looked after, they do have a much simpler life than those in great power and great position, with much more to lose. And so maybe this was the mindset that they were coming up with in this. I mean, obviously the idea of
I mean, it's kind of like when it's kind of like when you have a pet and you sort of look at them and you just sort of look at them and you're like, what have you got to worry about? You
Yeah.
have a roof over your head every night. You've got food in your bowl. Life is good for you. Life is good. I mean, obviously, back in those days, slaves weren't really treated as people, so you could probably look at that.
Well, yes, and
mindset
also slavery in America versus slavery beforehand is very, very different. Chattel slavery was kind of almost a new thing in the 16th and 17th century. Previous slavery had been I'm not going to get into this subject too much because it looks like I've spent far too much time looking into slavery.
Thank you kindly.
What is this? What is this? What is this horror show?
It's a lead into Rosenhan. Rosenhan was a guy. So I'm talking about. I'm
Yes.
sort of leading you into the instability of what counts as a psychiatric diagnosis. I have to bring up, I'm afraid, Michel Foucault, who talked about it in the Birth of the Clinic. He presents the medical gaze as a concept, which is by effectively anything you say can be brought into the how can I say, a narrative of medicalization, and it can be very hard to get out of it. And David Rosenhan tested this idea. So he was a researcher, and the story goes that he and 7 accomplices presented themselves to psychiatric institutions across America. This is in the 70s, 1973. No, sorry, 69. Nice.
69 to 72.
Thank you. They present themselves at the clinic with a very standard set of symptoms. They say that they are hearing voices which say hollow, empty, and thud. After that, they behave normally. So they get admitted, usually with schizophrenia, and from then on, they just have to be themselves. So let's see. Yes, beyond a few biographical adjustments for privacy reasons, the pseudo-patients used their own life stories. All 8 were admitted and diagnosed with serious mental disorders. The question became, once you've been labelled with a psychiatric condition, how do you prove yourself sane?
But that's easy. But that's easy. You just say you're not insane. Job done. There you go. Get the stamp on your wrist.
Yeah. Fair play, fair play. Didn't work out for them very well.
No, it didn't.
They didn't say they weren't sane quite emphatically enough then, did they?
No. These people were going around behaving normally. They would ask to see their doctor, and they found they weren't taken seriously. They would report that they were feeling fine, and the guards would effectively respond to them as if they were children. Reading the newspaper was written up in symptomatic language. Questioning whether the treatment was necessary, given that they're not encountering any problems, was classified as obstructive behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them got out quicker than others, but they all had trouble getting out of the institutions. They could not be recognized as sane once they're in there. And they also had a great deal of trouble actually being seen and assessed by doctors. Effectively, they were classified as sane and then could not get as insane and could not get unclassified as that.
Yes, because all they get to deal with is Nurse Ratchet and her. Yes, very fairly unpleasant. The systems in those days, in the 60s and 70s as well, in mental health was terrible. They're not particularly good these days, but they were particularly bad back then.
They definitely discovered an aspect of dehumanization that meant they just could not be taken seriously.
Yeah.
There's an interesting... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was saying, can I ask, was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest inspired by this film, by this study in some way?
Ken Kesey. I'm not sure. Sorry, he's the author of it. I'm not sure if it was. Possibly, if you want to have a quick Google.
Just because I'm getting vibes of that movie, and I think Mergut's mentioned it in the chat as well.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. So Jack Nicholson plays Randall McMurphy, who is facing a prison sentence, I think, for a quite spicy crime, if I recall.
It was aggravated assault and robbery or something, wasn't it? He was not a gentle chap and had taken the mad route.
Oh,
I thought it
was jailbait stuff. Okay.
Was it? Oh, I don't know. It's been a long time
memory
since
is going to be bad. So
yeah,
let's hope it was burglary. He finds that he has an antagonist in Nurse Ratched who refuses to recognize that he's sane and he can't get out of there.
They fry his brain as well with that's. Ooh. And yeah, they still do that. Electroshock therapy is still done today.
Oh yeah. So there is a follow-up to this, which I think is even more interesting. Now, this received huge criticism. In although the results were effectively universal, doctors objected and said that these were sort of isolated flaws, and that Rosenhan would not be able to repeat it. They would be able to identify people who were faking. So Rosenhan agreed and said there would be a follow-up between this time period. And he didn't send anyone. That is the genius of it. He didn't send anyone. He had them check the opposite. After proving a positive, he got them to try and attempt a negative. From the reporting of it, a few dozen supposed pseudo patients were identified.
Brilliant.
All of whom were genuine.
So after locking up perfectly sane people, he got them to let out nutcases. Brilliant.
Yeah. Epic trolling.
This guy needs to try his little experiments on the wine tasting the wine tasting trade.
Mm-hmm.
You should. Now, I do have to mention that there is some rather serious doubt over whether the Rosenhan experiments were genuine.
Okay.
As we know, there's a replicability crisis in academia of a very severe nature that more than half of experiments cannot be replicated. And there are accusations coming out of the New Scientist magazine from someone who looked deeply into the Rosenhan experiments that possibly the story was very inconsistent and that notes taken could not be backed up with further evidence. And so there is doubt on whether the story is as Rosenhan said it was. However, gosh darn, it's a good story.
Yeah.
And I lean towards believing it, even if the actual real life evidence is a little bit shaky. But
it's entirely possible. I'm surprised they don't imagine that you have mental hospitals with like mystery shoppers. Just
yeah.
It's basically what this is. This is just mystery shoppers for mental hospitals.
Yeah. So I thought we had to mention that, the sort of that thin line between sanity and insanity, and just like we shouldn't be so sure about where that line is. So I will leave it there for the Rosenhan experiments, and I would like to move us on to the main topic of tonight, if you're grand for that, and that would be Jacob's Ladder.
Let's do it.
So this is coming out in 1990. Oh, and by the way, I will actually remember for once. Spoilers, guys. We're spoiling this movie in great detail, endlessly.
You've only had 32 years, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, 32 years. Okay, big spoilers. That's not for cachet, actually. I'll just say don't watch that. It was awful. But spoilers for Jacob's Ladder. We're going to go in, and it's one of those films that is, I think it's fair to say, relies on some big revelations.
I think that's true. Although I would say that spoilers might even help this movie a little.
Oh yes, absolutely. You rewatch it with a richer knowledge, and you can see a lot of very deeply seated symbolism in there.
Yeah,
makes it even better.
Yeah, I agree.
But the first time through is quite special. I'll just note in the sort of early stuff that we should get out of the way. This is from 1990. It is directed by Adrian Lyne, very interesting person. Directed Lolita with Jeremy Irons, a very good adaptation, if I recall. Also directed Fatal Attraction, which was sadly dumbed down a bit in the production, but is nevertheless very interesting. And it was written, and this really surprised me, by a chap called Bruce Joel Rubin. Now, it wasn't a familiar name to me, but I absolutely know the guy's other work. The guy who wrote this, same guy who wrote Ghost with Patrick Swayze.
Wow.
Oh, it does have the same feel to it as well at times, doesn't it?
Yeah. Isn't that weird, though? Isn't that... Yeah, I just... Sorry, go ahead, friend.
I was going to say, you know what, also, kind of... the realization of is because it's another Kassar and Vajna film as well, which they were involved in a lot of action movies in the 80s and 90s, like the Rambo, and was it Rambo? I think it was. To see them, okay, they're revisiting another Vietnam film, because is it a horror movie? Is it just a Vietnam film? Is it just a war movie? Is a question to be asked with this. But yeah, they seem to crop up in places. But it seemed an unusual film for those two names when I first saw it.
Mergoot's very right here. It was written quite a lot earlier, but it did take ages to get into production. There was a lot of hesitancy to produce it because it was quite extreme, and ultimately, I think a studio ditched it, and then luckily it was picked up again, and Adrian Lyne got full control over it. Thank goodness, because this is a very singular vision that could have easily been quite generic.
Yeah.
And I sort of have a feeling of this one that maybe it's one of those ones where it was so influential that you might look back on it and think, oh, it's a bit generic. But this is really the mistake of sort of catching something that started the trend after you've seen the whole trend develop.
Yeah.
We've already said spoilers, so I feel we can talk about the fact that this. You might feel that some aspects of the film are ladled on a little thick, especially after you've seen, say, a fair few Shyamalan films.
Gee, I wonder which one springs to mind for me.
Yeah. I wonder if an audience now is maybe a bit primed to look for that stuff that the audience in 1990 weren't.
I'm going to say I did call it quite early on. I did call it quite early on.
Yes. Well, those are some of the production details. I think maybe we should do the quick synopsis, if you don't mind. Trig, would like to do that quick synopsis, and then we'll start going through it.
Oh, a quick synopsis of Jacob's Ladder. How
All right, we're in the pub.
How quick? Okay.
We're in the pub. Hey, Trig. Apparently the wife wants Netflix tonight. She's heard about this thing, Cuties. I don't fancy it, mate. Anything I can recommend for her?
Dear God, no! You want to watch this film? It's a great movie. It's a bit of a psychological weird one. It's a bit of a twisted take on the Vietnam War. There's features of American military experimentation on soldiers, but essentially it's a man's fight for his own soul and his trip to heaven as he dies on the table. It's quite a wild one. It's putting the worlds to rights in the mind of a man fighting for his soul.
Oh, that sounds pretty boss. Are there any 11-year-olds twerking?
No, there are no 11-year-olds twerking, thank God.
Well, I'll fire up the hard drive later. But the film sounds good.
Yeah. There's some nice. There's plenty of titties in it, though. You know, if you're looking for a bit of boobage, plenty of boobage for the first half. Yeah,
there is so much nudity in this film for no reason.
If you want tits PTSD and Macaulay Culkin, then Trigger has the film for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. PTS demons, definitely.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. I think if that hasn't sold you on the film, come on. It's let's maybe just start going through it then, because this opener, I think, is so endearing. I find the guys' banter here in Vietnam, which is where we start, by the way. I find it so darn endearing.
I like that he starts. Yeah, I like. Well, for a start, I think Ving Rhames in the movie, brilliant,
absolute bonus. Yeah,
they did do him dirty though in this scene.
Oh yeah.
I mean, for a start, I mean he's asking the main character to hold his, well, not hold it, but jerk his angly dangly. Only to then be told that he doesn't have a pair of tweezers. It's like, oh, do you really want to go there?
It's a half decent comeback.
It is a brilliant one. It's a good one.
Yeah,
but...
yeah. The whole banter of Tim Robbins' character is just constantly going to the bathroom, or I should say, just curling one off in the bush. And they did just, as they would, they just mock him for it.
Yeah.
My favourite bit was the whole, when he's pulling his trousers up, why'd you bother?
How many is that this hour? Yeah. Yeah, no. I'll tell you what, there's a lot of well-known faces in this as well. Because they've got Eric LaSalle in this, which is, I've always loved him in Coming to America as Mr. Soul Glow, where every time he sits down on the sofa, there's a big greasy patch right behind his hair. And yeah, no, it's a good old cast of guys. They're all bantering. It's the Vietnam War. They're waiting for something to happen, but at the moment it's all chill. They're just listening to music and talking shit, and then yeah, all hell lets loose.
Oh, hang on.
Zips in the wire.
You did talk about famous faces. There's one famous face who showed up we haven't mentioned. Jay from Red Letter Media.
See, I don't watch Red Letter Media, so I don't recognise it.
Oh man, absolute lookalike.
Yeah,
total lookalike.
Yeah, yeah, I see it now.
I can't unsee it. I can't unsee it at all. I'm stuck. I also wondered if there was something with this chap here that they were getting into in the Vietnam scene. Do you get the feeling like this guy's how can I say what do we say, has learning difficulties?
I just took this as to be some kind of not shell shock, but that was the best way I could describe it.
I thought he was one of McNamara's guys. If you know
yeah, he's in a lot of stuff, and he usually plays someone that's sort of a little bit, shall we say, slower than the average. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't do a lot on this, but I wonder if people are confused by this whole line of inquiry. Trig, you might know it better than me, but there was a general in charge of Vietnam, McNamara. Was it Robert McNamara? Was trying to fill the ranks and did a special recruitment of roles for people with subnormal IQ. They were rather cruelly referred to as McNamara's morons. And his theory was that you could integrate them into the army, and it didn't work out very well.
No.
And I wondered if this guy was meant to be pretty sympathetically representative of that.
perhaps.
It would certainly fit with that, wouldn't it? Yeah. I don't know if that was intentional. Could well have been, though. It could well have been, as I said. There doesn't seem to be much in this movie that was accidental, but yes.
No, and it would fit the theme that you really get throughout, which is like these poor guys are just sort of pulled out of their regular life, dropped into this area, this hell zone they have no understanding of, to be tormented by forces they can't comprehend.
And he's just sat there through that entire opening scene, through that gunfight. He is that what's his name, Paul, is just sat there throughout the whole thing and just basically crying. He is. I don't know whether he actually sees what's actually happening.
Well, it's more. I don't think he's quite comprehending what's going on around him. It's almost like it's not real.
Perhaps, but without going and doing too much of a spoiler for the reveal later on, I don't know. The part of me thinks he's sat there watching what is actually happening. Maybe he hasn't been hit with what everybody else is on. Maybe big, but he looks like he is seeing. Knowing what's actually happening in that scene, maybe he's actually seeing it and is absolutely traumatized by that. But either one is possible.
Yeah.
Because this is essentially, here's the big spoiler. This is a drug experiment that has gone horribly wrong, designed to hypen up the aggressiveness of the soldiers, and they're just killing each other. And he sat there watching his friends turn on each other and butcher each other. I think that explains why he sat there just tormented and looking, like he is. He's just crying and tormented throughout that whole scene.
Well, it's good that it's actually a good point that you mentioned that he might not have sipped on the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Purely because of the fact that he is just sitting there.
Yeah.
And not doing anything. Whereas, like you said, the aim of the drug was to heighten an individual's aggressiveness, and that's not happening to him. So either something in him is causing the drug to manifest differently, because like you see with Ving Rhames, for example, he starts like convulsing and starts throwing up blood. You've got another guy who goes into like excruciating pain in his eyes and starts like, I don't know if he starts bleeding out of them, but he's freaking out and flailing around. I mean, it seems to react. The drug seems to make people react in different ways.
Yeah, definitely. On this, because this is very important for the film. I'd only picked it up this time when I saw the tree here. But Ving Rhames freaking out, going into these convulsions with his head shaking erratically. These two bits of imagery absolutely cement the horror of the rest of the film. This is so deliciously planted. Jacob, when he's back in New York, is going to see nightmarish demon creatures where the faces are wrong, but most often it's the way they move. They shake their head continuously. What he's seeing there is it's the fear of this reaction Ving Rhames is having. He's seeing Ving Rhames convulsing and shaking his head, and that's being coded as nightmarish. So when he's seeing demons doing that, it's just reflecting what he sees here.
Got you.
And later on, when he runs away from the slaughter, we spend a good amount of time panning down this tree with all its vines. Throughout the film, if you do a rewatch of this, watch how many times tails and tentacles come in as sources of horror. The very first sign of horror is a tramp with a tail sticking out from under his clothes.
Is there? I must have missed that.
Yeah, and the woman staring at him blankly on the subway has a slight. It's like was that a what was that? That looked like a tentacle or something else.
Wait, yeah. Oh, I mean, these are easy to miss. I've got a terrible screen cap here. this is borderline filth. So this is from one of the nightmare
Oh.
scenes later. His girlfriend has a tail
yeah.
whipping out between her legs.
Yep.
Okay, I have to ask: is she getting boned by the giant moth?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Frisky.
and then she takes it straight through the back of the neck.
Yeah. That
mhm.
giant demon moth is on her like a light bulb.
That was that was some angle of dangle, I must say.
Oh yes, I'll take that off screen now because it's a bit filth. But yeah, this is something I wanted to highlight because I had never noticed this. But the things that he will later see as horrific in his demons are all seeded here. And the other major thing that becomes horrific throughout the film is, of course, cars.
Yeah.
Multiple times, and we get an explanation for that too, for why cars are a particular point of horror for him. But we can touch on that later. Oh, Maverick, yeah, absolutely. Definitely putting the bug in buggery, but see what happens when Haryan isn't around to keep us in order. Oh dear. So yeah, things are going quite horrific there, and then we get a sudden snap into a very different world. It's quite a change, isn't it?
Yeah, he's home. He's in New York. The war is over for him. He is on the subway. He's a postal worker, and he's looking up at the scene on the advert on the side of the subway, and there's hell.
Oh, adverts on the subway. You say that?
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder if I have one of those. Oh gosh, what do you know? Drugs and hell in the same advert. Oh wow! What a crazy random happenstance. I absolutely love this film. It's so planned out. I think like every advert in this station is drug related.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, just about.
Would you like to tell us about the scene? There are a lot of scenes like this, and I don't want to risk the wrath of Super Nanny by going over absolutely every single one of them. But I thought it would be quite instructive to talk about just one in a bit of depth so that people get the understanding of how the film feels.
You know what? It feels like, I don't know if you've ever seen Angel Heart, which if you haven't,
No.
you'll enjoy.
That was
Angel
fighting
Heart.
to be on the list.
That is Angel Heart is very good, and I suggest you watch it even if it's not on the list. Just give it a watch one day, because but it has the same sort of feel. It's got this sort of dark, dank, the extreme contrast lighting, and he's in the subway. He gets off at the subway station, and it's all chained off. He's got off at the wrong place, so he has to cross over the tracks. And as he's trying to cross over the tracks, there comes another train, goes past him, and all of the faces are pinned to the windows. Demons on a one-way trip to hell, almost. Maybe he shouldn't have got off.
Or maybe they're just New Yorkers.
Or maybe it's just New York and heading to Brooklyn on a Friday night. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, because I have to do my symbolism thing. I mean, look, it's a light at the end of the tunnel. Oh no! Right?
Yeah.
It had to be put in there, but Fez, it was such a tough contender. Angel Heart was very strong on there. But I kind of realized I could smuggle Angel Heart in if I do something on like Southern horror, because there's something about the way New Orleans Southern American culture is presented in the films that is quite interesting. So I figured I could save it for that. We will cover it, absolutely. I
would say sorry. I would say one of the things about the light at the end of the tunnel is normally the general rule is you're supposed to head towards it, not have it hurtling towards you.
Well, he's avoiding it.
That's it.
Yeah.
He's avoiding it.
Yeah. To him, it's scary. I mean, I think already works so well because, frankly, I mean, I only have the experience of London, but the city can be a pretty scary place. And I think this does an amazing job of making use of that, from how alienated he feels in the sort of quite grimy, scary, uncomfortable train that he feels alone in. He speaks to someone who looks this kind of babushka-looking woman who doesn't respond to him at all.
It's a really good description, yes.
Yeah.
And just a blank look. She's definitely either Italian or Russian or Croatian or something of that. Yes. And yes, it's a blank, almost horrified look at him. And then there's the tentacle. And then the has to shake off that thing. Maybe he took, too much weed whilst he was in Nam. It's left him seeing things. Is that it? Is that what we're seeing here?
Maybe that's it.
Yeah. Flashbacks.
And it just builds up the scenario perfectly. He gets out. He finds he's trapped. He needs to cross over. But finds it difficult. Has to make a perilous journey. And the way they sold him being threatened by the train was incredible. Just the way it sped up suddenly, that was really scary to me. The directing just really captured the terror of it and how quick the train was coming, how panicked he was.
I mean, mind you, wouldn't you be if you had a train coming towards you?
Yeah.
I just thought
it get out of the way pretty quickly.
Yeah, I do love the way how he sort of jumps to one side and then jumps the other. It's like, pick a side, mate. Jump, just jump.
Yeah. And he's standing right on the junction as well, so it could the train could jump either way as well. He dives for the ditch and makes it.
Yeah. And from there, he sees into the train, and as you said, sort of, it's hard to describe them. And I'm sort of half and half on whether I should even get screenshots of what we see, because part of the beauty of the film is you never really see the demons all that well.
Well, that's, I mean, that picture you've got up at the moment with the guy at the end of the train driver, maybe one of the conductors, is faceless, his eyes, that's all you ever really see is twisted variations on that. It's a face, but there's features missing. It describes almost all of the demons, if you will, at all times. But they're always so fleeting and so quick that you're just left with this kind of feeling. That wasn't right. That wasn't a face. And that's all you get, which is, it's great. Far too many horror movies these days give you far too much, and they do not let your imagination work with the blanks.
Yeah, you need to be kept guessing if you saw what you think you saw.
Yeah.
And so I have not, as with In the Mouth of Madness, I'm not going to show you much of them because I want you to watch this. I want you to experience it, and dissecting it with the pause button, I think, doesn't quite do the job. So I'm going to let the film be experienced the way it should be. But this is just a great example of the kind of disturbing footage you get where you're just sort of not sure if you've seen it or not, and it just goes by so quickly. It's just fantastic opening scare, to really set the scene for the kind of terror that the film will go into. And outside of that, it goes into sort of normal life logic. By the way, Jay, do you know how hard it is to find a photo of her with clothes on from that film? I mean, I'm not complaining.
I swear this is the only, I mean, other than when she's naked, but I swear this is the only scene where she doesn't wear black. I don't know. I picked up as the film was going on, every scene you'd see her in. To my knowledge, that is, she was wearing black, as almost if to give you the imagery that she is some sort of dark character, maybe not really human. If that makes sense.
Yeah, she goes under a massive transformation, which, you know, we obviously have an explanation for later on. But she's definitely very different in these opening scenes where, you know, he comes home way after midnight because of his extremely difficult journey home. And she's just like a bit of a safe haven, and she's in a good mood. She hops in the shower with him. In the morning, she's wearing these bright colours, pouring him orange juice. And she doesn't wait too long to bring out the crazy, but yeah, Jezebel here does, I think, to an extent, represent something of an ideal that's quite unstable. Because
I mean, the key is almost in the name as well. She is definitely a Jezebel of sorts, and God bless her for it. Quite frankly.
Oh yeah, she's fantastic in this. I really enjoyed her. I think Elizabeth Pena here does a really good job. I find her quite believable, you know, because these are nice down to earth folk. You know, they both work in the post office. They met there. She's pretty believable. Like she makes herself up here, but when she's in the office, she just dresses quite practically.
Yeah, and she's a party girl. She knows what she enjoys. She definitely has that sort of, you know, 1970s, 1980s kind of chicks feel through it. It's she does the role very, very well. I also liked the I don't like anything that makes you cry. You know, but then goes on to burn the memories.
Yeah, there's not much. I don't think there's any follow up to that, unfortunately.
No, there isn't.
I can't remember. Does he discover that?
Yeah. He doesn't discover that, but if you remember later on where they're talking about when he's talking to his chiropractor, who is so obviously a guardian angel. Blatantly a guardian angel. He's there talking about how demons, you know, what is perceived as demons are you know, could be seen as angels, and demons are just people are sent to hell to burn away the memories of their past that are keeping their souls from freeing themselves to heaven.
Oh yeah. That's a throwback to that, isn't it? Yeah,
it's not hugely subtle. You know, it's very spelled out. But I think when you're watching it, you can probably just go like, "Oh right, yeah," and it's you know, it's not. It's not particularly subtle, but you can just breeze right past it. Things like saying, "Oh, you're like an angel."
When he quite literally is being portrayed as one.
You can allow it.
But certainly on the first watch through, you might not get these. Immediately.
Well, yeah. I mean, to be fair, I missed that what you said about the photos, and then because obviously it goes on to mention, you know, what the alternative perception of demons are. And I didn't link the two, but now you've said that really does that really does give that earlier scene quite the payoff.
Yeah,
she I think she really is representing a kind of well, as a Jezebel, you know, she is a seductive avoidance of reality. So you get the feeling that, you know, in this narrative, in this vision of life. That he's basically he's run away from his PhD. He's run away from his family, and he's kind of hooked up with her as a kind of party girl. Like she's just someone he met at work who loves to party, and you get that feeling that that's how they met. And she drags him to a party later as well, and you feel like he is kind of out of place and avoiding where he should be. And it's all sort of subtly just conveyed through how she responds. and what she
Mm.
expects of him.
Yes, the whole if you're going crazy, you're going crazy on your own. This, that, and the other, and then you're really ill. Oh no, baby, immediately flips like that. It's not he's going crazy. He's really ill. Let's get him in the bath and dose him with ice cubes.
Yeah. It's so good. It's so good. Slim, I can't show more. Just watch the film. There's nothing you don't see. Like, I think there's probably even colonoscopy in the director's cut.
Oh yeah, what?
But we are a family friendly channel here. Without going into the chiropractor too much, I think she's so nicely, surprisingly detailed, and this idea of her as someone who just sort of tries to seduce him into avoiding realizations is good and she eventually gets more and more hard line. I know in the director's cut that I've been sadly unable to get my hands on, she was basically a final boss, which is a bit of a shame.
How do you mean final boss?
Like
quite literally, she morphs into some sort of beast, or
yeah.
Oh my god.
There's a thing. Basically, she blocks his way to the home, and she transforms into basically a demon bird creature.
Right. Brilliant.
But I think you kind of get everything you need from that of her being ultimately antagonistic. When you see her in the hospital scene. And she's one of the surgeons. Like, you kind of get it, don't you?
Oh yeah, at that point you're kind of like, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yes, it's spelled out for you at the you're dead. That's why you're here.
Yeah.
Hang on. Is that Slim? Is that real?
That's real. Yeah, I just double checked it, and October 2014 is
Gosh
right.
darn.
Slim's right. While we're talking about dead actors and actresses, F's in the chat, ladies and gentlemen, for James Caan. He died earlier today.
Yeah.
That's brutal. We demand F's in the chat. I mean,
Big F.
For misery alone. Oh, the savage.
Absolutely.
To be fair, 82, not a bad innings.
Good innings. Yeah, good innings.
He did all right. He definitely did all right. Oh gosh. Yeah, I'm surprised by that. I'd looked up what else she'd been in, and I hadn't noticed that she'd passed. That's unfortunate. There's her character is also, I think, quite a strong inspiration for how can I say? Part of the trouble of a film like this that is so influential is I just want to tell you guys, like, oh my gosh, Jezebel is exactly like this character in this thing. And I don't want to spoil the other thing.
Spoil it. We're in the spoilers range now. Go for it. Do it. Do it.
Yeah, but I'm spoiling Jacob's Ladder. I don't want to spoil. Okay. All right.
Do it.
Okay. I'm going to cover this later, so I'll just mention it now. One of the things that this had the biggest impact on is the Silent Hill series. Now, I'd like to go.
Oh, really?
I'd like to go spoiler light on that, but there's a heck of a lot. So I'm going to try and not ruin things for it. I do have an image that's like, gosh darn it, where is it? I've got one that's just an outfit comparison,
right?
For you all. That's quite handy, but oh, do I even have it? Oh no, I was so sure I saved that. It's not looking good, ladies and gentlemen. It is not looking good. Got it. Sorry, that took me for ages. So this is James Sunderland. Yeah, James Sunderland, Jacob Singer, same outfit. Borderline same person. And Jezebel. Yeah, Jezebel is very similar to Mary. By the way, Normie, good to see you. I don't know if I know you from the chat, but thanks for joining our stream. Good to see people. Always nice seeing new people. In fact, if you're in the chat and you've never left a comment before, drop one now. We're nice. We're fairly balanced for people who talk about decapitation for 3 hours a week.
Well, I've seen Normie the Navi around.
Ah,
How you doing?
Excellent. Excellent. Sorry if I haven't remembered you, friend. Good to see you in the chat. So where are we on similarities? Also in Silent Hill 2, one of the first things you do is pick up the Lyne key after Adrian Lyne. In Silent Hill 3, you basically have a reenaction of the subway scene, and they're even going to the same station, Bergen Street. There is lots there. My favourite thing that was kind of underrepresented when I was looking at this is there are some things in the hospital. Well, obviously, the scary hospital is pure Silent Hill territory over and over again. But also, there's patients in tight metal cages is repeated a lot in Silent Hill 2, and basically the end boss is like that as well.
Right.
So massive influence on the series, and not disguised at all. So,
wow.
I thought I'd have to mention that.
You mentioned the hospital scene. I have to say the hospital scene in this film was one of my favourite bits. Just the way it was just progressively getting worse. The more sort of like it was almost like he was going through like the 7 stages of hell at that point. You know, top layer, it's all right. Top layer's normal. Then it gets a little bit dingy, and you're like, and then you get the mental cases, and then you just get like blood and guts all over the floor. Bits
of arms, and they're just dragging a gurney through literally 7 arms.
I've got some imagery for you people.
Oh my god, do you know what? I loved that. When a bit of that human meat gets caught up in the wheel and they're just pushing along. I don't know what it was. Obviously,
it had same feeling as Hellraiser 2 had.
Yeah.
Just briefly. No, absolutely. And you know what? I think this scene has been certainly plagiarized by a few others.
Beloved NHS.
Yes. Oh no.
You can tell it's 74 years old looking at that.
I mean, where's the lie?
Oh god, hold on.
Oh damn!
You're killing me.
His absolute terror in the scene. It works so darn well, just because he's brought into a sort of what you feel is a sense of normalcy, and then they're dragging him for treatment, and it just gets worse and worse. It builds up, and you just realize, oh, hang on, what the heck? Like, you've taken him through this dingy, broken down bit, and then you start seeing the blood on the floor, and like you said, it escalates. And it just keeps getting worse and worse.
I mean, how he's on the table and letting them put those screws on and the mouthpiece and everything. I'd have been thrashing around like this guy.
Exactly. Actually, you know what? Do you know what? Look at look at the physique of the guy, and think back to what Horrorshow said at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
very Ving Rhames body.
Yes, you know? Is it? Might have been Ving.
Yeah, it could have been actually.
Buff black guy convulsing.
Yeah,
it's all seeded, brilliantly planned nightmare imagery.
The head shaking. It's almost as if they've done it on the I don't know, shot it high speed and then played it back slowly, or actually the other way around probably.
Other way round, yeah, it was. This all the effects were done in camera, which is fantastic. I mean, 1990, you'd hope. But no insert shots. Just this was done by setting the frame rate incredibly low, and then just having the person just Mergit's got it.
Mergit's just confirmed it. Yeah, it was Ving Rhames. There you go.
Oh, that is actually Ving Rhames.
Yeah.
Epic. That would explain it. So they set the frame rate incredibly low, and they just have the actor move their head, and it's really iconic to this film. I mean, I'm sure others have done it. It's
been used a lot since, though. I'm gonna out myself as being. You're all gonna totally hate me for this. I've been watching Supernatural recently.
Why would I hate you?
Everyone's allowed a guilty pleasure here.
Hey, look.
What's guilty about that? I love Supernatural.
Damn it, Sam. Do you know what?
They use that camera trick though. They use that a lot for the hellhound scenes and stuff.
I'll tell you what, I've been watching a lot of The Boys, and obviously Jensen Ackles is in season 3. He is brilliant as Soldier Boy.
I was watching it going, hold on a second, I recognize that.
Yeah,
oh my god, it's Dean. I mean, it's Jensen Ackles.
Well, the thing is, The Boys is an Eric Kripke production, isn't it? So of course, like
they've got Senator Bobby Singer.
Yeah. And in fact, Eric Kripke was actually he oh god, have you seen the Herogasm? We're completely derailing this stream at the moment.
Oh, rock on!
But you know the episode Herogasm.
Wow,
wasn't the last one, but the one before.
That was a hell of an episode.
Yeah, Eric Crick. You know when he opens the door, when Mother's Milk opens the door, and he's like, "Ah, it ain't coming" or something like that, and he gets all that jizz on him. That was Eric Kripke's voice shouting out the warning.
Oh no!
Whereabouts in Supernatural have you got up to then? Are you rewatching or?
I'm rewatching. Okay. Started from the beginning. I'm about season 5-ish at the moment.
First 5 seasons were the best. Went a bit downhill, and then I think it picked up again afterwards. After a while,
it did. The thing is, they're self-aware enough to know they jumped the shark.
Yeah,
and then do a couple. The Men of Letters season was a bit odd.
Whenabouts was that? Like, if guys, bear with us, we're going to stick on this derailing for a little bit longer.
I think that's season.
So I think I watched up to 9, and I felt it's like it didn't know what it was doing, and I bailed out, and I gathered there are another 6 seasons after that. So
it's 15 seasons until yeah.
Well, this is it. It's on Prime, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna blitz through this and see if I can watch it to the end. So I'm giving it a bash. Plus, it's good to get interesting ideas for various things. If you want Monster of the Week type stuff, they're actually pretty good for Monster of the Week, certainly in the early seasons. So yeah, I'd like to.
Right, that's it. I'm going to carry on. I'm going to pick it up again.
Are you gonna try and sprint to the finish?
Yeah.
Go on.
I just what happens if you do it and you're like, you know what? It's season 14, 15. They are the bomb. They are on a level with season 5. I'm like, do I have to watch 4 seasons to get to that? Because these are long. They're long boys. They're 26 episodes long, aren't they?
Well, season 3 was a lot shorter because of the screen actor. No, was it the writers?
Yeah, the Writers Guild. Yeah, I loved that though. I thought it made season 3 end amazingly. Yeah,
season 3 was really concise because of that, which I thought was pretty good. But no, I do like it when they go. I do like the episodic nature, and then it sort of ties into the main story. Like I say, the first 5 seasons, because it was always because Kripke meant for it to be a 5-season run initially. And so it had a clear direction for those 5 seasons, and then afterwards it's kind of like Dexter season 5. It just sort of lost its direction for a little while, and and for me it took a few seasons for it to sort of get back to the kind to get back into a sort of direction where it knew where it wanted to go for the next couple of seasons. And I think, like yourself, Horrorshow, I think I got about 10 seasons in, so I could start from season 11, but that would be cheating. I could do a season a day, you know me.
Yeah. Just
you are. Remember, you've got fortitude.
You've got to get stuff like the Ghost Chasers and the originals.
Oh my God, Ghost Chasers! Yes,
Chuck writing the books, etc., and the fan base. That's
I don't think
the
self-awareness of the better.
Yeah, exactly. The self-awareness that they really are taking the piss sometimes. It's great.
They managed to do such a good job of that. Oh my God! All right, I'm gonna bring it back to reality.
Anyway, Ving
goes Gravity,
legs shaking around like a loony. Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
Now this comes on, but there's something that scares the absolute crap out of him way before. Something gets an even bigger response from him than this.
Bike.
Yeah, good call.
Bike, yeah.
Also stolen by homaged by Silent Hill. I think they did a wheelchair with the one wheel spinning. So
Gabe. Because you never, I think it was up until that point, you don't really know why how Gabe dies. And then there's that, and then there's a brief scene of him on the bike, and then a truck going, pulling to a halt. You're like, oh, that's what happened to Gabe. Oh, rest in peace, Macaulay Culkin. Didn't have time to prepare for that one, did you? Sorry.
Well, I mean, he was just prepping up for his death scene in My Girl, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, he's early enough to be uncredited. I have got a cute little photo of the little.
He was uncredited, really?
Yeah, he's not credited in the film.
Oh wow!
Even though he's pretty unmistakable, but
yeah.
I just, I just love. Here we go. Look at that, eh? It's adorable. What a little bipper! What a little bipper! Yes.
Michael Jackson enters the chat.
Would like. Oh no! Please, we're family friendly. No. Yeah, I just love this, like the idea of the way it captures how an image will haunt you. And as you say, we don't have the explanation for this. This isn't even the finale. This is about, would you say, probably end of Act 2?
Yeah, we're 2/3 of the way through the movie at this point, at least.
Oh, easily.
But we're not quite at the end yet.
This absolute iconic sequence, but yeah, just the thing of the bike there is the image that haunts him so much, and then it's from there that you descend into the blood, the piles of arms on the floor. Oh, absolutely iconic. And this wasn't a big hit. It was influential, but not a massive hit. So I think it doesn't get the credit for originating the kind of imagery that it did.
Yeah, but is it one of those films that isn't really sort of isn't appreciated at the time, and it's only like much later on when you look back at it? I'm trying to think of other films that were like that. Oh my god,
what cult classic horror movies that weren't appreciated? It's even unappreciated now, but are massively influential.
Oh gosh,
yeah. I mean, but more are appreciated now. So they're kind of not in the cult status because it's not like a small dedicated fan base. It's like nowadays people would consider them like masterpieces, and it's like a genuine shock when you look back and see what their box office numbers were at the time, and you're like, really,
Reanimator.
Oh god,
yeah,
gotta be Reanimator.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, all of Lovecraft is kind of that. He would, he got some play, but he wasn't as appreciated as he is now, where he's really built up. Poe as well, the reputation. Oh, we could go on forever about that.
The bike was haunting until I knew it was Culkin.
Yeah, I know, right? Fez, you're a harsh man. That's
very savage, Fez.
All I'm saying is Macaulay Culkin would be very welcome on this channel to talk about his experience of this film.
Fez basically like, it's real sad you lost your kid, but on the other hand, it was a cyclist. So yeah, I don't know how this was marketed. Maybe like if people thought they were getting just a bog standard horror, they'd be very disappointed. Early 90 was a bit of a low point.
Yeah, I'm just going to say it now. I don't think this film was a horror.
I have difficulty. It's a psychological horror. It's certainly not. There's no one wandering around in a mask hacking up teenagers, which we always enjoy that in a horror, especially when it's really, really, really sickly American teenagers getting offed in a summer camp is just wonderful. But that's not this film at all. This is a what the hell is going off here? Oh, I think I've got it. Oh yeah, this is. But even though the meta story of what is actually happening, it's all happening in his own mind as they still went ahead and brought in the government bumping off people who were trying to raise awareness of the fact that they were drugged and used as experiments during the Vietnam War, the fact that they were using and drugging and experimenting on soldiers during the Vietnam War, etc., etc. These things are all things that have had traction in more recent years and may well have actually happened. Not that I have any proof that these things happened. Please don't Please don't kill me, governments.
But it is interesting that they didn't need to do that. They could get away with it completely, but they fed that aspect in. But even in this amazing hospital scene, your source of horror, it's not the crazy dude in the mask. It is the institution.
Yeah.
I'm feeling lost in it.
Yeah. I'm sorry. All I could hear through my headphones as Trig was speaking was, I have information that could lead to the arrest of Hillary Clinton. Sorry, that was just really weird.
Look, rumors of me having any information like that are greatly exaggerated, and that hard drive will be deleted if my house is ever broken into.
Along with the emails.
Those emails are stored. No, I have no emails. Nothing at all. I did not download WikiLeaks.
I'm not talking about your business one, Trig. I'm talking about your personal one, right?
Just out of interest, Trig, you're not planning on, say, driving about 30 miles from your house, hanging yourself and shooting yourself with a shotgun, are you?
No, not at all. I am happy. I love life. I'm not a drug addict.
Nice. Just fun things to ask friends, you know.
Yeah. Where is it?
Oh dear, yeah. There's interesting stuff in that. Like, it's so random that you get Jason Alexander turning up in this. Like, it's.
Oh yeah. Do you know what I watched?
Yes.
I watched Shallow Hal the other day with my wife. And
what?
Isn't it? And I was like, where do I know him from? Oh my god, yeah, he's that dude from Shallow Hal.
Oh no. He's also in The Burning. Let us not forget one of the quickest Friday the 13th clones. Oh dear.
I don't think I've seen that. Have we covered? No, I don't think we covered it here.
We haven't. It's a very trash watch. You would be mugging yourself off, but it's interesting in terms of being a clone.
Right.
Also written by Bob Weinstein.
Oh no.
No, he's the.
No. He yeah. Is it Harvey's brother?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had him write it for once, and it's really weird seeing Jason Alexander, George Costanza here, just full head of hair as like the young buff stud. It's quite odd casting.
I swear he was wearing a yarmulke in Shallow Hal. Oh no, he's using the old little powder stuff on the top of his head. But yeah, he's definitely he obviously didn't need it as much there.
Yeah, odd stuff. It's this thing about the drugging during Vietnam. It's such a weird angle, and you could easily say that this is sort of taking up time in the film. But it adds so much. It's like, and it does help. Given what we ultimately find out about this, that this is in some way a hallucination, in some way a psychological process, a spiritual psychological process that he's going through. You have a slight problem in the film of none of this is really real. That could be the reaction to it. But they threw in... Well, actually, maybe. Do you want to just sort of deal with that aspect? And no, Trig! Oh,
no!
Trig, no! Oh,
no!
We hardly knew you.
Hold on, I'm going to have to get close to my screen. No, remove the image for a sec.
Oh, no!
Information that will lead to the arrest of...
Sorry, I already had that one ready from a long time ago. I was like, oh no, I have to. Now it's been brought up.
What do you think about the challenge that ultimately, if someone said to you, ultimately none of this stuff matters, it's just him seeing stuff?
Well, yeah, this is it. I mean, I find it interesting that the film ends with them talking about the experiments that did happen or didn't happen.
That may or may not have happened. Yes,
but but the film sort of like hinges on this angle that it did happen, and that and that there was this conspiracy that was going on, but sort of behind the scenes, or this cover up, should we say?
We know for a fact that things like MK Ultra have now come out and gone, yeah, you know what, we were testing LSD and various things like that on civilian populaces. We know you can go back to the Second World War and buy German chocolate that was packaged in ration packs for the German soldiers, and it is rammed full of methamphetamine. You know, it is no surprise that soldiers in wartime have had stimulants and various other things put into their food to assist them in the tasks that they have to do. And this is nothing new. Yeah. You then look further into wartime experiences of soldiers, and as Slim says, all our hallucinations not a real experience. They were, the amount of documentation of soldiers hallucinating and seeing, devils walking amongst things, and people on the battlefield, and crazy things happening out there. Are people drugged up? Are they just high on their own supply, and that their body pumps them full of various endorphins and whatnot to help them survive a situation? And is it beyond the realms of experience to think that a government that were involved in things like the Tuskegee experiments and MK Ultra might try something like this? I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly feasible. It's just whether it's just because of what he's experiencing in what can essentially be described as a dream world, really.
Yeah.
Whether again, it's just sort of, it's difficult just to explain, but I don't know. Maybe it's just his brain shutting down that's trying to draw up this image as to why he's having these experiences, and this is his mind trying to cope with it, looking back at Vietnam and thinking, oh, there must have been something, and then essentially his mind is just, I don't know, creating the scenarios to confirm his suspicions, like the government agents picking him up and trying to kill him in the car, like his friends having the same experiences and they're gradually getting off one by one,
Mm-hmm.
So I suppose there could be a certain validity to having this in this movie, even if that wasn't really the case for him,
Yeah, I'd probably say that by making this sort of, if you want to call it a diversion story, a diversion plot, basing it on something actually really important and with underexplored territory, such as this illicit drugging with BZ, I think actually grants it a lot of credence and makes it worth doing. Because it's not a frivolous plot. It's tied into something very historically important and very relevant to Americans at the time, and ongoing even.
So another one
makes it worthy.
That plays on this is Men Who Stares at Goats.
I have not seen it. Is that a Coen Brothers?
It's is it a Coen Brothers? I'm not
He's
sure.
not talking about a film. He's literally just talking about men who stare at goats.
Men That Stare at Goats. It's there we go. I'm just IMDbing it. John Ronson, Ewan McGregor, George Clooney, Kevin Spacey.
Hello there.
Ooh,
woo. Yeah, it's actually a surprisingly good movie.
Oh, is it? So, who directed it?
Grant Heslov.
Oh, not familiar with, but
not
okay.
Familiar. It's a comedy. It's definitely not a horror, but they sort of praise it at the beginning. Go, not as much of this movie is made up as you'd like to think. And yeah, it is based on stuff that took off in the 60s and was sort of played on and experimented with by the army about taking drugs, remote viewing, generally kind of really out there stuff that the governments were if not heavily investigating, you know, they were looking at it a little bit, and then the Russians started looking at it, and then they were like, oh, if they're looking at it, we better look at it more, type thing.
We can't have a mineshaft gap.
Exactly. Great movie, well worth watching. Good bit of a giggle. If not,
I'm sold.
nothing else.
I'm sold.
Yeah, Men Who Stare at Goats is a good laugh. You'll enjoy it, and it's not a horror. It's a nice one. It's one where you can sit there going, "Oh, that was fun."
And it doesn't always have to be horror, guys.
Exactly.
You know, I'm fine with this. I'm very well balanced. But back to the horror.
Let's get back to the horror.
No, I do think we covered this well. It's a fairly interesting plot. It's grounded in important stuff, and I think it maybe kind of smuggles in those challenging ideas about what's our government actually doing, by raising that and then smacking you with the whole massive spiritual angle.
Mm-hmm.
And you sort of, you know, it ends up not being the main focus, even though they have that little coda at the end.
Yeah.
But you also have the fun while that is going in terms of like making sure your time isn't wasted while you're in his sort of, I don't really like calling it dream world, but effectively dream world. Where are we with the thing I wanted to get? The party scene was another highlight for me.
Yes. The reading of his palm.
The reading, yeah.
I really enjoyed this bit.
I enjoyed this, but I would have liked her to have been a bit more surprised when she looked at the lifeline and was like, like a bit of confusion, you know, because she's like, this it says you're already dead.
Yeah, but she's too busy flirting with the mailman.
Yeah,
delivering a special package.
Yeah,
I know, but even like again, by this point, I kind of cottoned on to the fact that he was probably dead or dying. And this is just like a dream world. But I would have liked it if she was a bit more like, you know, all flirty, like how she was acting. Love it, brilliant. You know, she seems like she's having a great time, fantastic. And then I just love it if she just instantly like switched after she was like, "This is your love line. Oh, you're married, divorced. Hey, now we're talking." And this is this line, and and then like the face drops. You know, and he's like, "What? That's not right. This says you're already dead."
I would have liked it if she'd have been confused and been like, "Oh, I have smoked way too much."
Yeah.
If like she was just thrown off by it and tried to dismiss it,
or you know, Jezebel comes along, "What's going on?" And then she's like, "Oh," and then sort of snaps out of it, and then sort of carries on.
I don't know, because no palm reader, no tarot reader, etc., is totally 100% so sold on their belief system that they go, "Oh, you're supposed to be dead. You know, what are you still doing here?" There's always wiggle room in these reading type sort of scenarios where it goes, "Hey,
Maybe.
you're already dead, honey. That means you've made a choice somewhere along the lines that doesn't fall into your predestined path or whatever." There's usually a way around it.
That could have easily been written like he's an uncomfortable guy, like he's so out of place at this party. Like,
I mean,
he could have easily been like, my life's ended twice. My academic life, everything stopped when I went to Nam, etc., etc. So he has a vocal way out of it where he could shrug it off.
Yeah, but then she turns around and says, "But Jacob, this isn't a metaphorical line. You should be dead." But no, but the thing that sort of throws it for me is that he then goes on to have the hallucinations in this scene where, you know, where Jezebel's getting porked by the by Mothman. I just think it would have been interesting had this scene played out the way it did before him then going on to having that hallucination or that experience, because then it would have almost validated what he was seeing. It would have almost given him sort of like a driving light, you know, why am I here? Why am I seeing these things? What's going on? As opposed to I was a bit annoyed by it because it felt like bless her. I felt like she got a bit brushed off.
She
could have
did.
been-
She
she
did.
could have been a bit more important in this film, perhaps. I don't.
I would have liked her to have been a bit confused. I was going to say, Fez, I just got topped up with a Pinot Noir, which is quite nice since you're asking.
I like currant juice.
Oh, bless you. Before the dancing scene, though, I like that interpretation. I think they could have made it land a bit, but I wonder if that is maybe an instinct to drag it into more typical horror territory. Whereas the film is more intent on doing stuff like this, where it'll just show you. It just shows you inside a fridge, and it's like, oh yeah, sheep's head.
Yeah,
yeah. Bit odd.
How do you feel about this, Trig? About this being sprung on you?
If I was at a house party, and I have been to many house parties in my time, and gone into the fridge, and there was anything other than vast amounts of beer and other alcohol, and you know, a sheep's head would feel somewhat out of place.
I've seen the contents of Richard Trenton Chase's fridge. This was nothing.
I mean, it's weird though, because it's a clean fridge with some beers in it and a sheep's head in a bag.
But they throw it in there with that touch of the uncanny, and it could be explained away, and he's not all that freaked out by it, but he's just a little unnerved.
It's pretty horrific. I wouldn't. Yeah, that's not what I would want to find next to my generic beer. I mean, you know, it's a 1970s New York house party. It should be beer and cocaine right there in the fridge. Maybe some vodka and what have you, but not a sheep's head. No, that's a little too.
I've just said in the chat. I've just said in the chat. I also know what Joel Guy Jr. keeps in his mum's boiling pot. Spoiler: it's his mum's head.
Adrian Lyne approves. I haven't got much of a screen cap of this, but there's also the weird, like, I'm very interested in the scene where Jezebel is basically getting
railed.
Yes, on the dance floor. Yes,
Enjoying the party.
It's quite a conclusion.
I mean, moths are attracted to light. I struggle to see. I'm struggling to connect because again, Jezebel isn't really like an angelic character of sorts. Although, again, if you spin it to the interpretations that demons are actually angels trying to burn the memories away, however, then the moth could still view Jezebel as an angel, therefore a beacon of light, therefore fun party sexy time. I don't know. It was just really weird. Wholesome Chicken and Wrangler, yes, I did reference Richard Trenton Chase, the vampire guy. Yes.
I think you're not far off there. Just my guess would be remembering that we're in Jacob's head.
Yeah.
And you've got to see it as he would see it, which is, by the way, a very relevant lesson that you will need later in this arc. For him, Jezebel is his way of sort of having fun to get away from it. She's his fun escape. And so he's
definitely a fun escape, yes.
Yeah. He's followed her to this party where he's really out of place, but it's really hedonistic. And he starts to feel like he's losing control of the situation. You know, like there's that couple that are just banging on the couch and it goes way too far and he's sort of feeling out of his element. And then he's made to feel more out of his element when Jezebel, who he hasn't been able to keep busy with dancing, he's basically losing her because she's being railed by some rando on the dance floor.
She took Eat the Bug a bit too far.
Oh gosh, she was getting her bass boosted, absolutely. And it's for him, I think, like it's scary because obviously it's betrayal, but it's also he's losing her, which means he can't put off what he's hoping to. I mean, from his point of view, yes, Fez. I mean, that is what she represents. She's draining him. She's keeping him from going on. But he wants her to keep him from moving on. He's fighting his realization.
Yeah, he's fighting for life. He's fighting he's fighting tooth and nail for life.
What's that phrase they say at the end? Who's fighting? Who's put up a hell of a fight?
Put up a hell of a fight. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. He put up a hell of a fight.
I mean, it's a great premise. It's a fantastic premise. So many people have done it that, as I've said a bit earlier, you can go back to Jacob's Ladder and think, oh yeah, this kind of been done before. It's like, I mean, yeah, it has been. Oh, balls to it. Spoiling a really old German movie, Carnival of Souls.
Yes.
You know, this thing has happened before. It's fine. This presentation is great, and it was really taken up in the 90s and beyond. But within that premise, the film finds a great way of presenting the horror in a really intriguing way. And this kind of thing where he's just getting cucked out there in the party. And it turns more and more horrific as it goes on. Fantastic stuff. And then ultimately ending in her just getting the horn impaling her. Oh, I mean that sticks with you. You just see so little of this as well. It's like,
again,
the screen cap was a nightmare to get.
So beautifully. It is all literally happening in your mind. The scene itself is so minimal. The lighting's bad. It's great because you don't need it. Your imagination has made up all of what you need, and as you say, you can't screen cap this. You've got a bit of black and a bit of red, a hand, there's some motion, and suddenly a shocking image, and the next thing you know, Tim Robbins is on his back screaming bloody murder, and running a fever of 106, which killed him.
Oh, it leads on to this lovely scene. I really enjoyed this. Because I could empathize, like you've been there, you're ill, you feel you're roasting, but you're actually, you're burning up. Sorry, you feel you're absolutely freezing.
Yeah.
That you're actually roasting up, which, by the way, obviously thematically super relevant, that your internal state does not necessarily reflect your real life state. It's like poetry, it rhymes. The symbolism. Yeah. Sorry,
it's also exactly what happens when you have an infection. A nasty infection does exactly that.
I can't help but do the symbolism. It's my whole thing. But I just really related to this, and I thought they sold the discomfort so well.
Oh, the bit where he has a fever.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to dip out for a minute.
No worries. We're talking about how basically this thing of he feels he's freezing, he's actually burning up, really relates to the wider film theme of your internal experience is not necessarily reality. But also I could just completely relate to his suffering here, because when you're there, when you're ill like that, the last thing you want is to be made to cool down.
Oh my God. I mean, I could just tell you how I was feeling last week.
Oh, I bet you can.
but burning up, but shivering like it was like -20 outside. I just I was like, yeah, dude, I feel your pain right here.
It's so and it looked quite medical as well.
Yeah.
Just the way he's being held down, and there's a bit of a baptism angle in there as well that he's trying to resist. Oh, I love it. I don't think there's all that much to say to it other than it's amazingly directed and it's very unsettling. And it does follow with this shot, which I absolutely loved. I just think it's a gorgeous shot. I love the distortion on the TV.
Yes.
It's not deep. I just thought it was pretty.
I was going to say.
It is also very, very definitely. I've got a portable TV and I'm living in the 70s and early 80s and cannot get a proper signal to save.
Oh no!
So that is very much what TVs were like, with the two extending telescoping aerials sticking out the top.
Yeah. Oh, that takes me back.
Yeah.
I used to have 3 TVs in my room as a kid.
Wow.
Hang on, what?
Yeah.
Wow.
That is pikey as heck.
Like, not.
Did you get caught?
Hell no, no. One for the TV, one to watch TV, one for the PlayStation, and one for the Xbox.
Good God, the decadence.
Oh, but imagine not having to switch the SCART cable around. Come on.
And the great thing is,
it's worth it.
You know what? Honestly, the decadence of when you know how many TVs I had in I was at boarding school. I had none. We got half an hour of TV a day at most, and that was taken up by the older years watching whatever they wanted, and we had books. We had books, okay. That's what I had as a teenager.
I will add that. I will add that these weren't exactly state of the art TVs. These were all like second-hand hand-me-downs, and I was a bit of a hoarder. So if someone gave me a TV, I was like, yeah, I could use that TV, but I really like my TV VCR combi. Yeah, okay, I'll pop my TV VCR combi on top of this TV. This one's got a slightly bigger screen, not as good quality because it is like 15 years older than the other one, but I can make this work. I could make this work.
Damn.
Yeah. As we sort of skipped over,
I am old.
No. By the way, I am with you guys here. I was a very low tech person. I never had a console. We had one TV in the house.
I will say,
probably for the best because. Actually, we did eventually inherit a second TV. We inherited my granddad's TV, and it was one of those ones like the buttons were so knackered you just couldn't use them, so you had to just keep it permanently on and then just turn it on and off at the plug.
You know, my PlayStation was called Spectrum 48K. You know, I'm not even joking.
I'll also say I don't actually have a TV in my bedroom these days.
Moral. Mordecai, I'm not going to read all of that out, mate. That's a long name. I could make mistakes at any part of that.
Mordecai Ali Van Alan O'Shea.
Oh, well, you nailed it. I think we're a range. I think TCG and I are about the same age. I am a child of the 80s, and and Trig, if you want to say, you don't have to.
I am getting far too close to 50 for comfort.
Trig is also a child of the 80s, albeit the 19th century.
Ow,
yes.
Ow, that hurts.
And our other regular co-host Haryan is in his
early teens.
It's disgraceful. Haryan was not born when this was out, which disgusts me.
I don't think Haryan's dad was born when this came out.
Yeah, Mordecai, you might find that it does lend a certain bias to what we cover, but I try and fight that. So I will find myself frequently in my comfort zone of 80s and 90s stuff, but we also go way back before that. We try and deliberately avoid that.
You can't go wrong with a bit of 70s and early 80s stuff, really.
Well, yeah, there are so many reasons why the 80s is just the absolute gold mine for a lot of horror, but I shouldn't get distracted onto a tangent there.
Special effects were good back then.
Oh, no. Before you get into the late 90s, early 2000s danger zone. I was going to say, we kind of stinged this boy here, Danny Aiello.
Yes.
Obviously, we love him from Leon.
Yes.
Above anything else, but we should give him a bit of love for this. I adore him in this film.
I love the interactions between these two. Again, like Jacob's character makes it really obvious that he's some sort of guardian angel character. I love as well the scene where he goes into the hospital to retrieve him. What is this? It's not the medieval times. This is barbaric. And
so you're gonna have to keep your voice down. Where's Jacob Singer?
do you notice? But that's while on one hand it's hilarious, right? There was almost like a spiritual power that he possessed in those moments, because when he asked the questions, he didn't get the answers to the where's Jacob, but I mean he pretty much knew where he was. But the stay back bits, and they complied. It was almost like back demons, holding up the crucifix, and they're like,
without going back to Supernatural too much, he gripped him tight and raised him from perdition.
Yeah,
he literally did. He pulled him out of hell. He pulled him out of hell right there.
There's a big thing of like, how do you get him out of the of that scene? And it was amazing. Also, I there's something about how it's a rejection. This you might get a certain interpretation of it. I don't really want to be interpreted in a more general context from what I'm about to say here. But there's something about how he basically is a reaction to quite an evil medical establishment that's quite refreshing, that his kind of holistic chiropractic that is not respected is the thing that rescues Jacob. I kind of love that.
He's also quoting Bones from Star Trek.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, when he runs in there and goes, "What is this, the Dark Ages? You people..." Yeah, he's literally quoting Bones from Star Trek.
Jim, I'm a doctor, not a...
Yeah. I think it's Star Trek 4 where they end up in a hospital and he's just like, "My God, you people are barbarians." It's basically ripping off Star Trek, but it was worth it. It's absolutely great.
Yeah, so he's brilliant as like a heart of the film. I mean, when you rewatch, you really see what he's doing, but he's just fantastic for coming out and doing that. Yes, rescue, pulling him out of hell, and then giving him the guidance. What he describes at the very start about the words of Meister Eckhart about a sort of duality of good and evil in Earth. That is also straight out of Silent Hill 3, or rather, Silent Hill 3 really takes it straight out of this film. I hope I'm not spoiling it too much, but there's a pivotal encounter where one of the people who's meant to be one of the chief antagonists talks about all the monsters that that you've seen around the town, and just says, "They look like monsters to you?"
Yeah.
Straight out of Jacob's Ladder. I love it.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah, so he is fantastic. We don't see much of him, but he's very memorable. There's something I need to mention from the trivia that I quite enjoyed, is that Adrian Lyne brought a chiropractor on set to supervise these scenes.
I was going to say, like, did he do this in, like, did he do any sort of training to do it himself, or
they made it authentic apparently? According to the director, he still gets praise from chiropractors for respectfully showing what their art is and making them look very caring, which I really liked. You know,
just don't point this in the direction of Joe Rogan.
Oh, is he not a fan?
He hates chiropractors.
You think there's always the one I always get confused with chiropractors and osteopaths, because
maybe it's osteopaths actually,
because both are very powerful figures on the Scrabble board, but one is a little bit of quackery, the other one is a little bit more scientific and quite good. You know what? I've had a slip disc. I have seen a chiropractor, and he fixed me within like a week and a half. So, yeah, they can be quite useful. And as you say, this was very, very faithfully portrayed. I loved the roll over to your right, your other right.
Your other right.
Yeah.
You know, and goddammit, you got a PhD. How can you get your right, left, and right mixed up every time? Perfect.
It's funny, but it reminds me of my wife. She's exactly the same.
Damn.
I'd also like to voice a vote of confidence in osteopaths. Excellent experiences when I've been broken. So, yeah, he's amazing on this. He really sets Jacob here on his path, and it's so emotional. I love it. He does meet the chap who. I think, interestingly, kind of looks a little bit like him, that they cast someone who bears quite a resemblance. I don't know if you think I'm reaching with this.
No, I don't think you are.
Yeah. No, he does look very similar.
So it's that thing like you're getting the knowledge, explaining what's happening to you, but you're kind of getting it from yourself. You're basically telling yourself this.
Yeah. Can you... Other than the scene at the bar when he's talking to his old Vietnam friend, because you see him walk past, where else does he appear in the film?
Oh, he's warning him. He's warning Jacob when Jacob nearly gets run over by the car full of demons.
Yes.
Oh, is that him?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because he says like, oh, something along the lines of you
already know me.
You already know me, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, so I thought that was good. We kind of covered the material, but it's nicely done, and I like this reflective angle. But ultimately, by this point, Jacob's quite broken, and there's this just beautiful. I got quite moved watching it when he gets in the taxi, and just gives the taxi driver all the money, which is like basically he's giving up his material. He's giving up the material, really.
Yeah.
He's no longer materialist, so just take all the money. Just take me home.
And he gives his old address.
Yeah, and I got really affected by that. That really hit me emotionally.
Sorry, I had to dip out for a sec. My cat was going funny. But what was that got you?
No worries. So it's a scene where he gets in the taxi and he gives the taxi driver all his money because he's just that's symbolizing he's given up. And he just says, "Take me home." Oh, right.
Led Zeppelin plays in the background.
Oh, I missed that.
No, it wasn't. I'm just referencing "Stairway to Heaven" that we're seeing right now. Yeah.
Well, yes, this very much is a stairway to heaven.
Exactly.
He sits there in the house again. If you play Silent Hill 2, you will be getting mega flashbacks to this.
And then Macaulay Culkin and takes him upstairs to the. Anyway.
Shut up! You're just being ignorant. Stop it! You're being ignorant.
There's a very dark reading. No, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go.
Being ignorant. Stop it.
Yeah, let's not go to where we could go with that. I'm sure.
I thought this scene was very wholesome, being reunited with his.
It's incredibly wholesome. We will not defile it. It genuinely is touching, and he sits there and he just has that. I think he has a flashback whilst he's on the couch and remembering what happened to Gabe, and yeah, it's brutal. But at the end here, it's that acceptance, and it really worked for me. It was very touching.
Yeah,
because just after that, you get hit with confirmation. If I can find it, and I probably can't. Gosh darn, where is it? Every time, guys, every time.
Oh
no!
I'm going to hell. I know it, so I may as well just cash in.
Look, if we are going there, I was going to say this scene probably looks very different if you're a Hollywood executive, but this is a classy stream and a family stream, so therefore we will not. I would never make such a joke, but they hit you with this, and his look of peace is quite touching. You see people move out, and it made me feel like I'm not sure how I felt about seeing flashes of Vietnam throughout the movie. Like, I think I maybe would have preferred if we didn't.
I think if you were to reshoot this today or re-edit it, yes, you're right, you'd take them out. I think at the time. Why?
I think I guess because I feel it pushes too strongly on the revelation of what's really going on.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you can easily explain it as PTSD, so it works amazingly. I mean, it's a weak complaint of mine. I'd like it to be a tad more subtle, but it just stands out a lot more on a subsequent viewing.
I think so. I think at the time, certainly when I watched it back in 1990 and 91, it wasn't something that slapped you too obviously then, but I think it's been redone so many times by more subtle and other directors have referenced this type of stuff. It's not the first time it's ever been done, but it was still early days back then. And now it is, yes, just a little bit in your face.
Yeah,
But
and
that's okay.
I really wouldn't want to sacrifice the amazing bit in the first chiropractor scene, where he's prepped. Yeah, he's prepped for that, and that's what I quoted in the tweet promoting this. Was I had to make a deep adjustment. I was like, oh, that's a good line.
Yes,
that was a very good line. They managed to set you up quite nicely for that. And it's quite an interesting, almost anticlimax when he's just sort of left there peacefully and they walk out.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind the flashbacks. I felt like it added to the PTSD-esqueness of it all. It's not something that, I mean, I can understand why, because it would be a bit of a, it would definitely make it more subtle, which, you know, I'm not against. But equally, I don't mind it so much, because it was in your face, but there were other things that were going on around it that was just that were distracting enough to sort of make you think, is there more to this than just, it's obviously he's dying and essentially his life is flashing before his eyes. Obviously not his actual life, but yeah, I didn't mind. I didn't mind it.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many subtleties in the film that I think we can allow it. Sorry, Trigger, I cut you off there. I was
just saying, yeah, no, Fez in chat is exactly on the same wavelength as I am. It did have a, it could very easily have had Suicide is Painless playing gently in the background as Hawkeye and Hot Lips walk out after operating on him.
Oh, aiming for a mashup. Eh?
Exactly, yeah.
Good stuff. Another thing I really want to watch. It's so much on the watch pile, guys. So much on the reading pile. Oh my gosh,
it never ends. It never ends. Honestly, you should. Oh, I've been reading some mad stuff recently. I've just inherited 5 bookshelves, and I don't mean single bookshelves.
Oh
I mean literally books upon books upon books, all Greek and Roman history and philosophy and classics, galore. I am going to be buried in the books in the very near future.
You've set the bar high here, man. I'm lowbrow. I was going to say I've just discovered the BBFC have a series of podcasts.
Oh no!
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I'm their #1 fan.
They're looking at their statistics and they're going, oh, 1 viewer.
Yeah. Well, TCG, you put it up there on Twitter the other day, and I was like, yo, you had to ask. Okay, well, I've been reading this.
Oh yeah. See ya. What was it you said you were reading?
The Book of Enoch at the moment. I'm referencing Book of Enoch and the Book of Giants to Revelations and Genesis and various other bits. I'm not a religious person, by the way, but I do like to go into some pretty heavy occult theology type of stuff occasionally, and I'm on that trip at the present moment. It's, you know, nice. Why not? So yeah, angels coming down from heaven and picking themselves some choice women, and then giving birth to giants, who then decide to start eating and drinking the blood of man, and then just defiling all the animals, and as a result, just turning the world into a hellscape. Which is why then God goes, screw this, I'm just going to flood the whole place. Noah, you're all right. Build a boat. Build a boat, mate. Build it fast, because it's going to be trouble in about 20 days. It's the Book of Enoch is really, I mean, it's total heresy according to the Catholics, but it's kind of fun.
I am going to have to see if I've got that in my Bible. Mine's from about 1940, so
if it's in any way, shape, or form a normal Bible, no, it won't be. You'll have to dig it up. It's an apocrypha, as they call it.
I'm going to have to look now. I've got to know. But Well, I think we got to the end of the film, guys, in record time. I didn't even have to break out the Queen herself, and I've got her all ready and everything. I'm gonna bring her out anyway, just because I got the image up.
I just wanted to say, well, actually, now, oh no, Joe, no. I just wanted to say that the inconsistency that I had.
Oh yeah, what was
that I found in
that?
this film. So at the beginning of the film, when Jezebel gets all the photos out, and then you see Macaulay Culkin's picture, she turns round to Jacob, and she says, "Oh, is that your son who died before you went to Nam?" Later on in the film, I think it's after he leaves the hospital and goes back to his flat where he and Jezebel are, and he rummages through the drawers and he pulls out his this old cigar box with all the Nam stuff in there. One of the things he pulls out is a letter that Gabe has written while he was out in Nam, asking him to come home. And I thought, how could he have written that if he was dead?
Nice.
And it was at that point that I was like, yeah, well, I was already thinking it, but it was at that point I was like, either it's an oversight on the writer's part, or this is the film trying to tell you the guy is dead, because this letter should not exist.
Oh my gosh!
And it's actually Gabe asking, "Come home, please come home."
Yeah. Oh, good catch. Also, the Silent Hill 2 references again. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna want you to. Can I deputize you to play that on stream sometime, TCG?
I don't play scary games. I'm too much of a chicken.
Oh.
Get me.
It is from Dali. Yeah, that the profile picture is indeed from Dali. Shrouded Hand, who is on next week's stream, ran it through and produced a whole bunch of really cool versions of my Bloody Martini, and I really like this one, so I've stuck with that.
Go and watch Shrouded Hand. He's an absolute gent.
Yeah, folks. I mean, he's a massive channel. He doesn't really need us putting people in his direction, but he is a good lad. And he did a really interesting video touching on a case that you've covered, TCG, and covering the BBFC all in one.
Yeah,
and I was rather impressed with how thorough he was in it.
Yeah, he has covered the. You talk about Suzanne Kappa by any chance? He has covered that one previously. But yeah, I've seen that video that you're talking about. He sort of looked at cases specifically that were sort of tied to Chucky. Which I did sort of briefly look at in my video and BBFC, but yeah, he goes into way more detail with regards to sort of BBFC law, as opposed to the actual crimes itself. Because, like I say, he's already covered it in the past. But yeah, it was really good analysis, and I couldn't help but think of you and your channel when he was chatting about BBFC. I think I even commented and it was like, like a few seconds in, and like you're talking about stuff that I'm familiar with. Let's dive in.
Yeah, well, I think we are actually going to get more BBFC history, because the podcast has basically revealed that the stuff I was covering on the last section has gone a lot further.
Okay.
So I'm going to listen to all their podcasts on their sort of 2020 policy changes, and we'll see if we have a final part of BBFC history.
Sweet.
So there's more to come, but I shouldn't keep going. Really, we've reached the end of the film. I did want to point out that they do end on this little coda here, which I think is quite nice. Because yes, they denied the story, but of course they would say that, wouldn't they?
Indeed.
It's an interesting one. This film sort of points you in two directions in what do they really want you to focus on.
Well, that's it, yeah.
Oh, I love it. It keeps it rich. It keeps it very rich, and there's.
I don't know. I can hold two things in my brain at the same time.
That's a talent, mate.
Wait a second, you mean the government don't always work in the best interests of their people? Oh, that was a good story about a man's fight for his soul. Maybe I'll look into this drugging the soldiers thing later. And a young Trig never was the same again. What am I saying? I was reading, I read, what was it, 1984 in 1984, and I was never the same after that.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
Yeah. A 10-year-old me reading that book was that was it. It was just like, no, governments have too much power. We must stop them at all costs. Tax is theft, and local government and minimal at best. Let me make my decisions. I don't trust them ever.
Yeah.
Never trust them. I ain't fighting nobody else's war.
Ken Follett's Pillars of the Earth trilogy will do that for you as well. Old style. Yes. Localism, Luddism. It's the only way, guys. But that is taking me onto a soapbox and away from what I should do. We should probably, before I start quoting Uncle Ted again, we should probably move on to summarising our thoughts. Trig, would you like to summarise your thoughts on Jacob's Ladder and give you a score? And chat, if you watched this, I hope you did. I hope if you hadn't watched it and we've just spoiled the whole thing for you, I hope you watch it anyway. I mean, us talking about it will not get close to the amazing atmosphere and performances and delivery of this film. The delivery is so cool. So even if we've just spoiled it for you, watch it again because it's quite an experience. And if you have watched it, I'd love to hear your scores. As ever, out of 12 out of 12 burgers, as is our custom.
It is an 11.5, if not 12, an absolute must watch, an absolute feast of a movie. You have not your repertoire of movies that you've watched is not complete until you've done this, in my opinion. I love this movie a lot. It is great. Can't say more than that.
Cannot argue. An incredibly strong showing, and they predicted from the way you just snapped it up. But I was like, I did think Trig might go for that one.
I love the noir image of it. It's gritty, it's seedy, it feels like the 70s. It's dark. It's horrifying what this poor guy is going through and what has been done to him. It's just It's a very heavy movie. It's not I watched it with my girlfriend last night, and about 3/4 of the way through, it was just like, she was just like, this is very heavy. I'm gonna have to break out for a bit and have a drink and stop for a second. But yeah, no, it's brilliant, fantastic movie.
Oh, lovely. Fez is patrolling people who haven't smashed that like. If you're watching on the replay, by the way, hello replay watchers, and that's a lot of you. Give us a like while you're here, much appreciated. We'll do the homework in a second. I think if we finish on you, TCG, I am inclined to agree. I love this. It's incredibly influential. The delivery is just everything. This could have been, less original, more formulaic, more standard horror. The original idea was it was going to be like classic demons, horns, red skin, hooves, and they swerved away from that and did something original, taking modern inspirations that really fit well in the city and just make it more original. It would not land with classic demons, so they went with stuff inspired by Bacon, Francis Bacon. And just really disturbing imagery like that makes it so much better. Performances are great. It's grounded in interesting stuff. You can have so much fun looking at the interpretation of why everything is in there. And the interpretation means that everything that isn't happening is still interesting and still relevant. And built into all of this is some absolutely iconic sequences and excellent, just excellent seeding of symbolism. Oh,
Yeah.
am I over generous? I don't know.
No, I think you're right.
I think there's a heck of a lot here, and it really landed the emotional punch. Strong 11.5. Did not have Tony Todd -1 burger. Yeah, it's an 11. It's a definite 11 burger for me. Big fan. Oh gosh, all 11s all round. All right. And TCG, would you like to finish us off, please?
Can I give this one double? Can I give this double digits? I don't know if I can.
Ooh.
Okay.
And that's not to say that I don't like the film. And I think just for my own expectations, I sort of came into it thinking that this would be some sort of mental horror film. There is definitely the mental aspect. There is psychological elements to it. I don't know whether I would consider this an out-and-out horror, though. I think it is more of a psychological, maybe thriller with horror elements. But I mean, in terms of the story, yeah, it's a pretty solid story. There's a clear sort of see-through line of direct the film's going in. Gets from point A to point B quite well. The casting of the film is really great. I was really pleased to see the likes of Ving Rhames in there, as well as and obviously Macaulay Culkin was a surprise, and I'm even more surprised that he wasn't even credited in the film. So that was funny. A couple of inconsistencies sort of bugged me. So like when he goes to see that doctor. And that nurse is saying, "Oh, you know, who you talk about? There's no doctor here. Oh, you're not a patient here. You don't exist." And then, like after a couple of minutes, it's, "Oh, actually, no, he died in a car accident a month ago." It's like, okay, well, you know about him, but the nurse, presumably, who's been working here for many years, doesn't remember him, and he only died a month ago.
Yeah,
okay,
dishonest narrator, mate. Dishonest narrator.
He's coming. I think he's coming up with an explanation as he goes.
Yeah.
And that's what. And when he has to explain the doctor away, he blames it on a car, because he'll always go to a car as a source of horror. That was my understanding. But I can totally see what you mean.
Yes, it seemed like too much of an obvious inconsistency to be an inconsistency.
Okay.
But yes, you do you. I'm not telling you what to.
Yeah. No. I mean, again, I think that may very well have been the case. And yeah, obviously the letter, but again, I don't know if that was an intentional intentionally, that letter was intentionally put there to encourage him to make the final decision that he made towards the end, or whether it's the writing team going, we don't remember what happened earlier on in the film. I mean, but saying that, I mean, other than that, and the fact that I personally didn't consider it as a like full-on horror film, because I wasn't scared at all. Although there were visually disturbing scenes, and I thought they were done really well. This, for me, I'm going to go 9.5.
I don't think anyone can complain about that. Yeah. Like I'm a more generous marker than you and Haryan. So
I feel like Haryan's influencing my decision just because he's not here. The spirit of Haryan is guiding me on this one. But no, I think there's other films, and I know, Trig, you love this film, but there are films that I've watched that we've done in the series that I've enjoyed far more, and perhaps given around about that sort of score. But I mean, in terms of the message that it's trying to portray and the story that it's trying to tell, I think it does a good job, and I don't think it's like it's not like a 4 or a 5 or anything like that. That would just be silly. But yeah, we're a horror channel, and some of the prerequisites, I need to be scared. I need to get that. You know, you need to invoke those horrific emotions. Didn't get that with this film. So for story, acting, 9.5.
Okay. You know, this is further convincing me that I do need to do a just like brutal scare the crap out of you and Haryan arc. Yeah. I have been tempted to just do one, the whole purpose of which is to give you both nightmares.
I'll tell you what, I've been watching a lot of you might laugh, but I've been watching a lot of Jacksepticeye playing video like scary games with my son, and there's some really good ones that he's been playing over the years, which have been giving me the reactions that I would expect from a horror film.
Where do you sit on horror? I mean, are we talking Paranormal Activity, or are you, in my opinion, the same opinion as me that those are trash?
The first Paranormal Activity for me was all right.
Yeah.
Maybe the second one afterwards, but yeah, from about the third one onwards, it got daft and just contrived.
Amityville.
I think there's a certain amount at which they're almost not making a film.
Yeah.
Like they know they can basically just show you anything they want, like nothing happening. And then as long as they deliver something fast and loud in the last 5 minutes.
Fast loud jump scare. Oh my god. And yeah.
I allow the first one, but oh gosh. Okay, wonderful. Oh, I see the just try and give Haryan nightmares arc is popular.
Sounds like a top idea.
Good.
Top idea.
I've got a few earmarked. It may happen. It may happen. Okay. All right. Well, that brings us to the end. We've got so we have a 9, an 11, and an 11.5. This is high scoring.
9.5.
9.5. Okay.
I can't quite give it double digits. But
that's okay. That's okay.
If I got at least one, or if I got one or maybe 2 scares out of it, then it would have been a 10.
Not even for frequent boobs.
No, it's not a Friday the 13th film.
Oh,
they were nice boobs as well.
They were, but only the Friday. Those extra points are only reserved for Friday the 13th films, and the reason why they are reserved for those films is because they have to have them in there for it to be a Friday the 13th film. If there's no tits and you've got Jason Voorhees, then it ain't a Friday film.
It's not legit.
I don't care. It's not legit. Yeah,
it's part of the requirements. That's a fair point.
No tit, it ain't legit.
That's it. Yeah.
I told you.
Oh, brilliant. Well, before we slide further into absolute degeneracy, I will round off the stream. This is a whole chat full of breast appreciators. Well done.
Just big ones, wee ones.
Yes. Agreed. Okay. We didn't actually. Sorry, Richard's raised an interesting point. There is a remake from 2019. I didn't watch it. I asked TCG could watch it.
I asked. I was just like, I'm watching this tonight. Is it this one or the original? You said original. I was like, thank God.
I have heard terrible things, but I cannot comment. I have not watched it, and I will. So I won't judge it.
I haven't. Yeah, without saying it, I can't.
Yeah, so I want to be fair. Now, the main question has been asked, what is the movie for next week? Yep. Oh, man, I'm so happy about this. Next week's film is Oculus. Oculus from 2013, directed by Mike Flanagan, starring a woman who's got red hair and a name I've forgotten, Karen Gillan. It
Mike
took a
Flanagan.
while.
That name rings a bell. What was he for?
Haunting
he did
of Bly Manor.
Yes.
Oh yeah, he did Haunting of Bly Manor. He did The Haunting of Hill House. He did Ouija 2, Origin of Evil, which had no right to be good, but was. He did Hush, and he did Gerald's Game. I love this dude. We will talk a little bit about maybe some warning signs that he's put out, but that's for later. The main thing you need to know is we are covering Oculus from 2013, and it's absolutely fantastic. So get that in. We will be joined by Shrouded Hand and hopefully Haryan. And that, I believe, is everything. I may get a sneaky video out in the week. I will try, but I do not promise. So you might get a nice surprise. Where can you get a free view? BitChute, maybe. I don't know. Sometimes you have to do that. We're covering Perfect Blue, and I can't see that for rental anywhere. So you might have to sail for that one. Right, I'm gonna get out of here now, because I do see that 2 hours 30 is looming, and we want to stay on Super Nanny's good side after last week. So I will reiterate thanks to co-host TCG and returning guest Trig. Fantastic having you both on.
Thanks for being here.
A pleasure.
Yeah, and chat, good stuff this week. Only mildly debauched, so it was about right. And yes, Richard, you're right. Weirdly produced through Vince McMahon's film company, of all things. How weird is that? All right, we're leaving it here. You've been fantastic. Night, y'all. Cheers.